Hey guys, Nick here for Rev3 Games, and I just got a chance to check out a 45-minute chunk of The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Unfortunately, I'm not a real expert on The Witcher. I kind of wish we had someone who knew a lot about The Witcher.
Are you talking about The Witcher?
It's Max Wild Scoville. I am talking about The Witcher Wild Hunt, and I would like for you to talk about it with me. How does that sound?
Hell yeah, I'm down to talk about The Witcher.
So let's talk about what we saw, because I think we probably saw the exact same thing. It was a hands-off demo of The Witcher.
Yeah, I saw this last year, and last year he was like fighting like a big rabbit with antlers, and it was just a very messy thing. And it was that was the first time we saw it in action.
Sounds like a CD Projekt Red enemy.
This time they're like, they were like, okay, we're gonna go into Organ Gargle or something, the biggest city in the game.
And it's just
right off the bat. I mean, the biggest thing you'll notice the difference between this and The Witcher 2, obviously, is the fact that this is a full-on open world game.
Right.
And
it feels like it.
So much more happening.
It legitimately feels like you could walk in any direction and go see some stuff. I think the best example they showed was when they first show you that swamp area, and they're like off in the distance, that mountaintop. The city we showed you is 14 times that distance away, and you're like, oh, all right, that gives me some sense of the scale.
I keep seeing demos where it's kind of reminiscent of that whole, like, you see that mountain there, you can climb that for the initial Skyrim reveal. This is like, you see that mountain over there, you can go 14 times as far as that mountain.
Right, and it would be and they also said that was like a 15 to 20 minute horseback ride. It just, everything about that demo seemed built to convince us, and I think successfully, that this is a really, really enormous world that they've built.
Yeah, and it's not just an enormous world where you wander around and there's nothing happening in. There's, I was kind of floored with the amount of the kind of trail of breadcrumbs of quests.
And like sometimes blood crumbs also.
Yeah, blood crumbs, yes. You're looking for this this ashen-haired girl who's like this mysterious Witcherette or something, and
something like that.
So you're following this trail, and you meet this guy, and you're like, I killed the griffin for you, and you give him the griffin.
So what's cool about that is that I wish more E3 demos would pick up where the press conference left off. They're like, all right, we know you saw the griffin fight already. We're not going to waste your time. Here's what happens after you chop the griffin's head off.
Right after he chops it, he just rolls up, and he's like, here's your dumb griffin head. And he's like, so where's that lady I was looking for? And he's like, well, she was off in the swamps. They do fast travel by way of adorable, quaint rooster signposts.
Right, pointing in different like this. Very cute. And then from there, you teleport. They're like, normally you'd have to ride on a horse for a while, but we're just going to teleport you there. And you meet this shriveled golem boy with like kind of a cleft palate and a mouth that doesn't work. A godling.
A godling.
I thought it was like a god, G-O-D.
Yeah, it's a godling.
A godling.
D.
With crazy eyes and just like... Yeah, and he's mute, right? He can't talk. And so it's just sort of that sort of RPG.
His name is Johnny?
His name is Johnny, which is really funny too. But it's like one of those things where it's a chain of quests of like, I gotta do this guy a favor, but in order to do that, I gotta do this guy a favor. Except for all the characters along the way were like kind of weird and interesting.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think at a glance, I mean, I checked out The Witcher 2 when it came out, like Enhanced Edition ages ago, and at a glance, I was like, what is this? It's like a weird Polish fantasy stuff. And I don't really get that it's kind of a more gritty, twisted but tongue-in-cheek take on fairy tales. And since seeing Witcher 3 last year, I've read actually the first book of short stories, which is kind of like a warped twist on like old fairy tales.
Right.
Like, you know, what if the Beast from Beauty and the Beast was like kind of a womanizing prick?
And all the enemy designs reflect that. They're like fantasy, but not Lord of the Rings fantasy. They're forest storybook fantasy, but dark storybook fantasy.
Yep,
like everything's gross and bloody and like
so the godling, who would be like a little, you know, forest elf.
Right, he was not a cute imp. He was like a nasty.
He comes out and he's got like a.
And then you meet his like weird pseudo mother who tells you that all the ladies hate him because he's a gross little gremlin man.
Yeah, you have to get him his voice, and he has this bottle, and he opens it up, and he's just, you have to fight harpies because they stole a bottle that has his voice in it.
Right.
Just in case we're unclear that this is whimsical fantasy.
But then, to make sure you know that it's edgy whimsical fantasy, he talks about how much he loves to poop.
Yeah, he talks about pooping a lot. He's
pooping
like,
while watching sunsets. And
he's like, I saw you ashen-haired girl. I saw her when I was having my morning defecation.
Yeah.
Have you ever defecated as the sun rises? I have. And then you go see this lady, and she's like, let me go talk to my spooky painting, and she goes to this messed up painting and like communes with it, and then kind of does this weird split personality thing where she's channeling these other witch ladies.
All the voices.
They give you a dagger, and then you have to go and like a guy like cuts off his ear, and there's just
a lot of things happened.
It keeps going. It's definitely one of those kind of what do you call it? RPGs.
And a lot of what's also cool about it is, like you're saying, they have all these sort of characters, but the difference between this and a Skyrim quest is that none of the characters felt phoned in or boring. They were all weird, eccentric weirdos.
Yeah, it's not like, oh, I took an arrow to the knee. It's like, I like to poop in the morning and harpies stole my voice in a bottle. And
I think the thing, for some reason, the biggest takeaway, because it's a really, really pretty game, the thing that I couldn't stop thinking about and looking at was the environments. Just these beautiful skyscapes and like really long draw distances and sunsets and trees and just everything about the world. The water, that trailer they showed at the end where you see the waves crashing, just like they built a really, really beautiful world. Like regardless of its inhabitants, being there is pretty.
Yeah, no, I think that's this attention to detail that I love, and it's. I think a lot of people making games, they're like, let's make all of the things that we think are cool and then embellish the shit out of those.
Right.
In this, it's like you walk by a field full of sheep, and it shows like the sheep's name like pops up as a label, and you could probably kill all those sheep if you feel like it. But you know, it's just lots of NPC dialogue that really adds kind of flavor.
Yeah,
to the world
lots of ambience, like conversations about like let's two 10-year-olds talking about how they want to go burn some witches or something.
Yeah,
stuff like that.
But yeah, it looks incredible. It looks like an absolutely brilliant game, and I'm for what it's worth, kind of reassured that they pushed that back to February because it's clearly a massive undertaking.
Right. You don't want to make a game that big that it doesn't like actually feel like a solid finished thing. It's one of those games too for me where it's like it is totally outside of my comfort zone in terms of genre, but it's one of those ones where like if I can make myself like it, if I can force myself to play for a few hours and get invested in the story, it's really easy to imagine this being something that I'd sink my life into for a while.
Yeah, I mean that was kind of the case. Is like I kind of dabbled in Witcher 2 and then I didn't really get it, and then I saw the demo for Witcher 3 and I was like, you know, hold on, went back and read
Force
some
yourself
stuff.
to do it, yeah.
I mean, it's a thing. It's
hey, those delays mean that I can go play Witcher 2 now.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm really excited about February 2015 being this holiday season.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, thank you for showing up. Give me a hug.
Come on, come here. Yeah. And you people, why don't you go watch my videos on YouTube.com/Detour?
All right. Technically, legally, we're not allowed to plug other YouTube channels, so we're just gonna cover that up. There we go.
Find me on the streets.